I'm trying out a new format today. It's just me sketching with ballpoint pen and sped way up. I draw a lot. I love just using pen straight onto paper. When I first got into art, I would use pencil a lot, but I pretty quickly swapped over to ink. I think it was because someone told me it's better for building line confidence or something like that. That since you can't erase it, it forces you to think more about each stroke that you make, and so you'd learn faster as a result. I don't know, I guess I see the logic in that, but I had really scrappy lines for a long time, even after using ink for a good while, so I think it more comes down to whether or not you're actively trying to improve your line quality in the first place, which I certainly wasn't. I guess my line quality is alright by now though, so maybe they're alright. Maybe swearing by ink is what got me to where I am today. I also just like using ballpoint pen though. I like that you can sketch a little if you press down lightly, and that the nib doesn't fade away the more that you use it. Pencils never stay sharp enough for me. You use them for 5 minutes and your lines are all faded using one side of the pencil, but cut the paper with the other side? Yeah, no thanks. I'd like a consistent stroke, please. I think the real reason I use them most though is just that I'm lazy. I can't be bothered to erase and redraw the same thing over and over until I get it right. I'd rather just make a mess and then move on to the next idea. It's way more fun for me to work that way. I guess that isn't really laziness if it means I end up drawing more in the end, but whenever I have a pencil out, I just feel like, I don't want to have to erase that mistake. I wish I was using pen. With art, I love coming up with ideas and spitting them out fast. Just exploring concepts for games that I'd want to make, or creating characters and designing the world that they live in. That's what I live for, man. It's so much fun. Just daydreaming on paper. And since that's the part I like most in art, I guess pen and ink is kind of just the right medium for that. A single drawing only takes a few minutes, so if I get bored of the idea, it's not like I've invested hours of my time into it like if I was painting. And I can only add so much to it before I've run out of space, because with ink, there's either a line there or there isn't. There's way less room for rendering than with a pencil or paint where you can go for hours on end. You still can, but like only so much with a ballpoint pen. One of my favorite artists, who coincidentally also draws a lot with a ballpoint pen, is Kim Jong-gi. I'm a huge fan of his art, which kinda sucks for me because his books cost a fortune to get shipped out to Australia. You can't buy them out here, so I have to order them in from Europe, but his drawings are so cool, it's worth the $300 each that I have to forfeit just to get my hands on them. People like his brush pen stuff a lot, and I do too, but his ballpoint pen sketches are just way more fun for me to look at. They're really loose and sketchy and also kinda simple. His visual library is insane, and he'd practiced so much that he was able to communicate form really strongly with just a handful of lines and basically no shading. Like, sometimes he'll smudge the ink that balls up on the end of the pen or just crosshatch a little bit, but for the most part, those drawings of his are kept really simple and the focus is on the storytelling. Simple obviously doesn't mean easy, but he sure made it look easy. I used to draw along with his live streams and watch him work away at a whole scene, starting with just one character and slowly expanding it over the course of an hour or more. I still go back and watch those all the time, but I was thinking recently, like, why don't I see more people doing this? Recording their art or streaming it and turning it into time lapses, giving us weekly updates on whatever art projects they're working on. I'm sure it's out there, but I've only come across a handful of channels doing similar stuff, Monster Garden being the most recent. His world building project is wild and so cool to follow along with. But for the most part, art on YouTube is dominated by these heavily sensationalized challenge videos, like customizing a new car, drawing for 24 hours straight. You get the idea. Like, it makes sense, that's what the most people are gonna click on. They appeal to non-artists as well. But you watch enough of those and, I don't know, at least for me, they start to feel so lifeless. There's plenty of good art challenge channels out there too, obviously. Jazzer is another one who's also here from Australia. But I feel like the online art world is missing a little bit of, like, just people showing off the cool things that they're working on. I love watching video game devlogs, there's a ton of those out there. I guess because interest in game development is as high now as it's ever been before, but come on man, like, where are all the art logs hiding? Give me a series of someone working on their dream comic or starting a massive world building project that's gonna take months or even years for them to finish. I guess what I'm saying here is, if you guys have a favorite channel that's also doing this sort of thing, let me know who they are. I need more of it in my life. It's so cool following along with other artists' journeys and seeing their projects coming together. But it's also pretty hard to find this stuff because I don't know, I guess maybe it just doesn't appeal to that wide of an audience, so finding it takes some more digging, or maybe I'm blind and it's right there and I just have no idea. I've always thought like, man, if Karl Kopinski or Peter Hahn or any of those other artists that I look up to, if they had a weekly or even monthly video series where they just show off a bunch of art they've made recently, condensed into time lapses, that'd be so cool. If they had a Patreon page where I could go pay to see their weekly sketch roundup, well, maybe I'm lucky they don't, because I'd run out of money a lot faster. I love watching live streams of them drawing in real time and seeing them bring an idea to life from a blank piece of paper, but I've always wanted to find an artist on YouTube that makes art kinda like theirs and condenses it into dense time-lapse videos like these that I'm making now. But I don't know, I guess if there are really that few people doing it, then I'll just have to fill in the gap myself. Let me know what you guys think about this sort of thing as a series, because there are for sure a lot more on the way.